Welcome to the channel. Basically, this video is part of a series on my channel from my solo travel in Africa. I traveled to Cape Town for the first time. I traveled to Lagos for the first time. I traveled to Accra for the first time, and it was flipping phenomenal. Like the best. I have what to share about Uber drivers in each country. Believe me, they differ. It's amazing. Like the world is just becoming one. The fact that I can use the same Uber app to do exactly the same thing anywhere, pretty much, is cool. It's hella cool. It makes solo traveling that much easier because you just have familiar things. You don't even need to do anything. It just automatically reconfigures based on your location. I think that's so cool. So I want to be talking to you, it's kind of like story time, so get comfortable. About my experience with Uber drivers and just Ubers, and little things that I noticed and little things that I found crazy and little things that I recommend as tips, especially around safety. Take it or leave it, some of the stuff, and be entertained. Some of it is hilarious. Yeah, let's go. One thing I'll say is I thoroughly enjoyed the Uber Eats in Cape Town. The food in Cape Town generally is much better and it's significantly cheaper. It's cheaper directly and relatively, and it's better. Cape Town, of all the places I traveled, the 3 countries, was the only Uber app in the app that I could book Uber Lux, right? So they do say Cape Town is like an African country but with first world standards, a third world country operating first world standards. You see that in places like Uber. Nigeria and Ghana didn't have that option. They did not have Uber Lux. They had Uber Comfort, but even then it was questionable. I did a video on this channel in terms of like just tips on traveling solo, and one of the tips were do not skimp on your Uber because it will be reflected in the car you get, of course, and it will be reflected in the kind of person that's driving you. So one of the things that I made sure I did not do, I was not skimping on the cars. The very least I was selecting comfort or Lux, depending on the distance and depending how much I was prepared to pay. But coming home, I will always select Lux because I say home, like back to my hotel. Basically, I was coming home very late in the AMs, and that is not when you want to be driven in a Nissan Micra that's like got the bumper hanging off, because literally it will be the case. The standards in terms of Uber drivers vary, and because Nigeria and Ghana does not offer Lux, they offer comfort, which is ever so slightly bigger, but it's yeah. In Cape Town, I did not skimp on my Uber because my safety was paramount, and I noticed like I did get the cheap Uber at some point, and the characters that you get driving you is just mad. Literally, like it's crazy. Lagos comparison. I'm just gonna say all Uber drivers are mad in Lagos. Nigerians speak pidgin. I thought I understood pidgin until I got to Nigeria. There's pidgin and then there's pidgin. Like pidgin is actually the thing is, like, I'm speaking English and he doesn't understand. He's speaking pidgin, which is supposed to be broken English, which I thought I understood, but I didn't understand. It was so weird. It was very eye-opening. And interestingly, I had one in all of my travels. I had one female Uber driver, so I'm kind of like, yay, like go girl. She was very rude, but she was a female, so we'll stick to that. In Nigeria, what I noticed is when you need an Uber driver, book it like 20 minutes before you need the driver, because of bad roads, because of speed bumps, because of potholes, bad roads, because of traffic as well. That 5 minutes is going to be like 10-15 minutes for them to get to you. So I kept booking my Uber just in time, and I kept like being on edge because now I hate running late. But in Nigeria, you're just inevitably late because there's so many factors that kind of work against you. But anyway, this guy turned up and said, "Madam, I don't have fuel." I said, "What do you mean? Like, so are you able to take me or not?" "But I don't have fuel. You need to what he was trying to say is, which is another point about Uber drivers in Africa, they prefer cash payment. So when I had my default setting to like paying out of my card because I didn't have cash, I didn't want to have cash. I made that a point that I didn't want to have cash. Because I had done that, they prefer cash, and he was trying to find a way to get me to change the settings, my booking, to change it to a cash payment so he can get the money now. They want the money now, which I get, but I couldn't. Mind you, once you've made the booking, you can't change it. Secondly, I didn't have cash. I didn't have the cash. So I was like, you're late and you're now coming, you're telling me you don't have fuel. So are you able to take me or not? And I was like, okay, do you know what? Cancel it and I'll book another Uber. He said, no, don't cancel that. I'll take you. So he was obviously lying. He just wanted the cash. I didn't get it at the time, so I was really mad. But then afterwards, I made a friend with another Uber driver who I just felt like we connected, and I got him and he got me. He spoke English that I could understand. I know that sounds really bad, but anyway, I got him. I understood him. He understood me. I got his number, and when I wanted to go somewhere, I'll first check like is he in the area. And like 8 out of 10, he usually was in the area, and then he'll take me, and then he'll come and get me and take me back if I don't have a ride to go back home. Most times though in Nigeria, like someone always brought me back home. Ghana as well, same thing. In Ghana, we were a group, so we would share the Uber anyway. We all needed to get into an Uber. But they prefer cash payments. They prefer cash payments, and they're quite aggressive about it. Another guy came and said, like, he was moving so slow. You could see in the app, he would move, stop, move, stop, move, stop. And when he got to me, it finally made sense. This guy didn't have internet. Yeah. So he would turn his data on and off to like save it, and then the app would load to a particular point, and then he'll like turn it on again. It will load to a particular point. In the end, in that journey, I ended up using my phone to get us to where we're going, using my Google Maps. You know, this goes back to my video about safety traveling solo. One of the things I mentioned, like, make sure you check out that video. One of the things I mentioned is have a backup for everything. Have a backup for battery, have a backup for data, have a backup for money. Because when these things fail you, it will really mess up your whole trip, and you will just be on edge the whole time, and that's not nice. Anyway, you see all sorts in terms of like Lagos Uber drivers. They're actually mad. Before I went to Nigeria, I always listened to I Said What I Said, I Still Do. They interviewed an Uber driver once, and literally I didn't understand, why would you want to bring on an Uber driver to ask them questions about being an Uber driver? Like, is it like, you could tell there was more to it. It wasn't just like, oh, let's find out how it's like to be an Uber driver in Nigeria. No, you could tell it's coming from a place of like, they're known for just being somehow, and they thought, let's bring on an Uber driver to help us to help us understand. Now, having been to Nigeria, I get it. Like, oh my god, it's a whole experience. Like, it's like a whole experience. Everybody though does say do not use any other like Bolt, or they say Uber is like the most professional one compared to the rest. So that's quite interesting to hear. Do you know what's odd? Out of all the countries, Cape Town was the cheapest in terms of like Uber fares. Cape Town was the cheapest, and when you convert it to pounds, which I found very interesting. And in Lagos, I don't understand the point of this, but on the Nigeria Uber, you can have a cash option on the app. You can have to put the option to put your bank card, and you can have the option to top up your Uber account. So I would love for someone to explain to me what's the difference between having your card on Uber and using your card to top up the account on Uber. I don't know. Like, to me, it looks like the same thing, but good to know, I guess. This is another thing as well. Like, when you book an Uber in Nigeria or Ghana, they call you to say, hi, did you book an Uber? And like, the first days I was like, yes, where are you? Like, why are you calling me? I booked an Uber. Like, I booked. But apparently, firstly, so this is now when I made an Uber friend. So I was asking questions like, what the hell is going on here? So they cannot see like the from and to, and they can't see the amount. They can't see like how long the journey is. They can't see where you're going. They just have to accept. And if they don't accept, it like works against their profile or rating or whatever. So basically, when you make a booking, they call you to say, did you make a booking? And the second question will most likely be, where are you going? They want to know where are you going before they come, basically, because they cannot see it in the app. So it kind of makes sense, because obviously there's some places Uber drivers don't want to go. Maybe the roads are really bad, or the traffic is really bad to come back from that place. There's so many reasons. Also, like, they will say you cancel. So they don't want to be the ones to cancel. They want you to cancel. Do you get what I mean? So that they call and then they ask you to cancel, because I guess it works against them. And do you know what? Yeah, in a place where everyone's hustling, I get it. The hustle is real. Yeah, the hustle is real. It's just that if you do not know, like I didn't know, I spent the early parts of my time, especially in Ghana and Lagos, in Accra and Lagos. I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what? Just come. I booked an Uber. Just come. Why are you coming? Like, literally, it became normal that I'm expecting a story when the Uber driver arrives. I'm expecting one story or the other. But in the end, I had found my Uber driver. I would call him and I had his account details. I wasn't paying him through the app. So one day, literally what he said to me is, oh, thank you. You've just given me money for food. I was just like, wow. This is why, like, you can be mad because the systems are just higgy haga. But at the end of the day, the people are still people just trying to live their day to day. And the hustle is real, and you have to be aggressive about that hustle to survive. Like, as much as I loved all these countries and visiting and experiencing, you know, the day-to-day temporarily, I don't think I could survive trying to do business in Accra or Lagos, or trying to work, like climb the career ladder, especially as a female, a black female. Like, it's you need to give it up to the people in these countries, because the hustle is real and the hustle is it's to a different level. And I think I came away from all countries thinking I really understand why certain characteristics you find them in South Africans, in Ghanaians, in Nigerians, because the country really shapes you. The systems really shape you to become what you need to be in order to survive. And I know this is about Uber, but again, it just speaks what you experience with an app like Uber that's everywhere but so different in each place, tells you about a country. And I thought it was just phenomenal to observe, and I thought I wanted to have experienced all of that, to be fair. But I also found it hilarious, hella hilarious. Like, it's some of the things you couldn't make up. But I hope this is helpful, and I know this was a little bit all over the place. I tried to structure it by taking notes, but if there's anything specific you want me to go into the detail, like, put it in the comments or contribute. What's been your experience? Like, what's your craziest story with Uber drivers in Africa? I find that quite interesting. I think it will be funny to just hear and learn from each other. Anyway, I have rambled, so I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for staying to the end. If you love this kind of content, consider watching the series that I'm making, which I will link on the screen. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one.